Our next speaker is from further down the Baltics and will join us from Lithuania. Mr. Justinas Pučis is the Head of Strategy and Business Development Department at the Public Investment Development Agency of Lithuania. And also, he's a member of the Management Board of the 3Cs Initiative Investment Fund and will introduce us to the developments of the energy sector in Lithuania. Please, the floor is yours.
Thank you a lot for your kind introduction, and I'm flattered to be here, invited by our Estonian colleagues. Also, I'd like to thank our Estonian colleagues for this great format and the event. Using the opportunity, I also like to thank the Ministry of Energy, which helped me to prepare for that presentation and expanded on the energy markets in Lithuania. If you have any questions for this presentation on in general for energy sector in Lithuania, please do not hesitate to contact me with the contacts in the closing slides, and we'll revert you or find the contacts that will get you there. I will start my presentation with a short introduction of VIPA, which is a core shareholder in 3Cs Fund and is heavily involved in 3Cs initiative. So VIPA is a Lithuanian national promotional institution, which is working for already 9 years. And we have developed more than 11 funds and financial instruments in different strategically important fields and areas in Lithuania, and financed more than 900 projects overall, while mobilizing more than 680 million euros of investment. We are fully owned by Ministry of Finance, and we employ more than 70 professional employees from the public and financial sectors. Also, while we mobilized investment, we mobilized them from different sectors, from public, from private. Most of those investments are being directed to the green funding investments, part of that being highly rated by Moody's as highest green investments in Lithuania. Speaking up about the energy sector in Lithuania, I hope that my presentation will inspire some interregional cooperation and to have some discussions in Lithuania about possible investment in 3Cs Fund. So Lithuania in the last 2 decades undergo very broad transformations in energy sector because of some vulnerabilities in geopolitical sector. Thus, until 2020, there were a lot of projects implemented in order to become energy secure state, which allowed us to connect to Northern and Western Europe with energy links, both electricity and gas networks, as well as build Klaipėda's LNG terminal and start a synchronization process with European electricity grid. By 2030, Lithuania is planning to become competitive energy country, having the most competitive energy prices, and while using renewable energy sources. By 2050, Lithuania is planning significantly increase energy efficiency projects and use of renewable energy sources. Those aforementioned goals are planned to achieve by strengthening energy infrastructure and doing that by integrating gas transmission systems into the regional markets and completing the Poland connection, as well as enforcing the connection between Latvia with the cooperation with the other Baltic states and countries and Finland. As well as the electricity sector has to undergo certain changes in order to finalize synchronization process with the European continental electricity grid, probably faster than it anticipated in 2025. So current government is planning to do that by 2023. It's also, the Lithuanian government is planning to exploit possibilities of already existing electricity link capacities, building new Harmony link net connection with Poland, and also implementing some balancing and emergency power reserve facilities. There's a huge potential and huge focus put on the green energy sector in the Lithuanian energy independence strategy, and one of the major goals is to have at least 50% of electricity being produced from renewable energy sources, increasing that to 80% by 2050. As well, Lithuania is implementing a very unique and interesting prosumer scheme and structure where and is planning to have every third consumer to produce energy for self-consumption from renewable energy sources by 2030, and increase that part to 50% by 2050. In the final energy consumption, renewable energy share should increase to 45% by 2030. And although we have already quite good figures in renewable energy source production in heating sector, which reached 70%, but until 2030, there is a plan to have only 10% of heat production being produced from non-renewable energy sources, and to fully produce all the energy for heating sector by 2050 from renewable energy sources. Most challenging sector in terms of renewable energy source use will stay the transport sector, and we already started some negotiations and discussions with Ministry of Transport, with Ministry of Energy, to develop mobility infrastructures in Lithuania to focus on research, development, and innovations, energy, and in different technologies, including hydrogen, and to expand use of green energy. In my last slide, I would like to give you maybe more figures of what is planned to be achieved during next 5 years, and maybe some of the figures are until 2030. Current government has very ambitious plan to implement faster the synchronization process with the European electricity grid by 2023 rather than 2025. And this will also lead to quite sizable investments in terms of additional connections, energy, accumulation capacities, storage capacities, which I'll mention later on. In terms of onshore wind power plant capacity, there is a plan, Lithuania is planning to achieve a goal of 1.2 gigawatt capacities to be built by the end of 2025, which means that in 5 years there is a need to finance more than 700 million megawatts, more than 700 megawatts of additional wind power plants. And more ambitious goal is in the solar power plants area, where solar power plants is envisaged to reach 1 gigawatt capacities by by the end of 2025, which means that we need to build additional 860 megawatt solar power plant capacities in 5 years. And as you understand, those capacities will need quite sizable investment. In order to mitigate all the vulnerabilities coming with renewable energy sources installations and also emergency services needs, Lithuania is planning to install electricity storage system to balance the renewable energy sources and to further strengthen the capacities of Lithuanian energy infrastructure. There's also plan to not to focus only on the production of energy, but also to focus on energy consumption, and actually to achieve 20.4 million terawatt hours savings by the 2025, which is a very ambitious goal, and there definitely will be need of new solutions and quite sizable investment in terms of modernization of current infrastructure. As already mentioned in the last slides, and I encourage all the countries, Baltic countries and participants from the other countries to explore our Lithuanian unique solution for the prosumers, where Lithuania is planning to have every third energy consumer to become the prosumer by the end of 2030. We already met some of the project developers in hydrogen production, and we see a very huge potential in this technology, and even some of the opportunities for investments from this 3Cs fund. Lithuania is planning also to implement measures to prohibit unsafe electricity use, and we see that there are unsafe electricity production in Belarus from nuclear power plant. So those solutions should be finalized and introduced by the end of 2021. In terms of offshore wind investments, there are a few milestones envisaged. So first of all, by 2024, Lithuania is planning to finalize all the documentations, analysis, researches needed in order to start physical investment. By the end of 2027, the new connection between the shore and offshore wind power plant should be finalized. And by 2030, there will be a huge need to install a 700 megawatt capacity of offshore wind power plants, and that would be associated with at least 1 billion euros of investment needs from private sources. On top of that, to also strengthen the energy sector in Lithuania, there is a plan to expand Lithuanian Kruonis hydro accumulation power plant expansion in 2025. There are a number of other activities which are planned to implement in order to achieve those goals that I mentioned in my slides before. But I really encourage you to contact me or Ministry of Energy directly to expand on those possibilities. And if you have any kind of questions to this presentation, or any questions to energy sector overall in Lithuania, I really encourage to contact me and or VIPA, and we'll try to answer your questions or find some correct persons in Lithuanian institutions to answer them for you. So thank you a lot for your attention, and thank you again for Estonian colleagues for this opportunity.
Ačiū, Mr. Pučis. Thank you so much for this high-level overview and for the ambitious presentation on renewable energy in Lithuania. Very much looking forward to seeing those plans coming to reality.